Some say winning a Champions League sometimes is not about form, it's about experience. Napoli were the informed team. AC Milan was the experienced team. Well, we can't really even say that about Chelsea. Chelsea were neither experienced or informed. So what chance did they really have, actually? It's a pleasure to be here this beautiful morning. It is Sports Bank. Okay, on the show this morning, of course, we'll talk about the UEFA Champions League. Well, one would say that mathematically, 2 teams are through to the semi-finals. But also others will say realistically that we now know all the 4 teams that will play in the semi-finals of the Champions League this season. How come? Well, for that not to happen, well, Bayern Munich would have to, at the Allianz Arena tonight, defeat Manchester City by 4-0, or let's say 5-1 or 6-2, by 4-goal margin. And for Inter Milan, for it not to be a Milan derby in the semi-finals, well, Benfica would have to go to the Giuseppe Meazza tonight. That's the home of Inter Milan, and win by 3-0. And football enthusiasts will tell you that there are chances of that happening, but they are slim. So we might as well say that we've got our semi-finalists, and now we can start talking about who will win the Champions League. You can go right on our Facebook fan page this morning at www.facebook.com/FlashFM105.5 and let me know what you think. Well, my question this morning is, who do you think is the favorite of these 4 potential teams? And also for Chelsea fans, what is next now? Because right now, well, I could say that there are no expectations anymore. There is no expectation to win the Champions League anymore for Chelsea. There is no expectation to get into the top 4 anymore for Chelsea. I'm not even sure if there are any expectations at all to get into the top 6, to get into any European sport. So what's next for Chelsea? Some are even saying fire Lampard again. Okay, well, it's a beautiful Wednesday morning. So much to get into on the show this morning. Although I opened the show with the Champions League, I can tell you that the Champions League is not all that is happening right now. Yesterday, in the Saudi Arabian League, it was Odion Judy Gallo, as Nigerians would like, against Cristiano Ronaldo. And some said, you know what, Cristiano Ronaldo, is the bigger player. But yesterday, Odion Judy Gallo shone like a million stars as Al Hilal took on Al Nassr. 2 goals from Odion Judy Gallo and 0 goals from Cristiano Ronaldo. Gallo showed Ronaldo yesterday that the Saudi Arabian League is my league. I came here first. I dominate here. And of course, we'll talk about updates coming from the Nigerian scene as the NFF put their foot down, saying no more we will beg our foreign football players to come represent Nigeria. At other times, it has been said that the NFF practically goes to beg, foreign players who are born abroad but have Nigerian blood, to come represent Nigeria. I remember when Tammy Abraham in quote Jeju, Nigeria, Amaju Pinnick was already settled. He had settled it with his father. He had gone to see the boy. Amaju Pinnick had come out to announce that Tammy Abraham had decided to play for Nigeria. Until Tammy Abraham made a U-turn, a complete U-turn, and decided to represent England instead. And we have heard the news of, Nigerian NFF officials having meetings with foreign players just to cajole, just to try to convince them to play for Nigeria. Well, there are a couple of potential Nigerian Super Eagles players already playing over there. The likes of Michael Olise, the likes of Ebere Chieze, and others who are yet to decide whether it will be Nigeria or England. In fact, there is Folani Balogun who can represent England, USA, or Nigeria. But the NFF are saying this morning, we are not going to beg any player to represent the Super Eagles of Nigeria anymore. These players come with lackadaisical attitude, thinking they are doing us a favor, not representing their fatherland. Okay, so much to talk about on the show this morning. Please go on our Facebook fan page and let's see your comments. What's next for Chelsea? I see you, Abu Kasimu. Thank you so much. Oladipupo Oluwafemi Bukola, Phoebe Darasimi. Thank you so much for your comments. Of course, we'll take them in no time. Okay, let's begin the show this morning and let's talk about the games that were played in the playoff season of the NBA. Well, let's confirm to you that early hours of this morning, we saw game 2 of 3 games in the playoffs of the NBA. Boston Celtics made it 2-0 in the best-of-7 series as they defeated Atlanta Hawks 119-106. Jason Tatum scoring 29 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists. Well, as I said earlier, was it yesterday or the day before? Well, Ime Udoka not being missed at all by Boston Celtics. They are just doing the Lord's work. Also, Cleveland Cavaliers defeated New York Knicks 107-90 to equal the tie 1-1 after 2 games played out of a possible 7. Well, it was Garland who scored the 32 points to actually help Cavaliers actually get all the win. And Phoenix Suns also did the same against Clippers. Defeated LA Clippers 123-109 to tie the series at 1-1 after 2 games. Kawhi Leonard scored 31 points, but Devin Booker did better, scored 38 points to help Phoenix Suns actually get the better of LA Clippers. They said it was going to be, KD against Kawhi Leonard. But this time it was Devin Booker who shone like a million stars. Okay, leaving the NBA this morning, let's quickly talk about an update coming from the world of tennis. Yesterday there were a couple of games at several ATP and WTA tournaments. And maybe the biggest of them all was a British #1 female tennis player Emma Raducanu getting beaten and knocked out of the Stuttgart Open in Germany in 2 straight sets to Yelena Ostapenko 6-2, 6-2. Yesterday, Barbara Krejcikova also got a 2 straight set win. Anastasia Potapova had to go 3 sets, though so did Tatiana Maria. While Paula Badoza, it was easy peasy 6-1, 6-1 against Daria Kazakhstina. And for those doing battles in Barcelona, yesterday it was interesting. Former world #1 Carlos Alcaraz defeated Nuno Borges in 2 straight sets. Also, Roberto Bautista Agut also got a 2 straight set win yesterday. David Goffin got a win over Feliciano Lopez in 3 sets yesterday. Alejandro Davidovich Fokina also got a win yesterday. And fast forward to later today, games will continue in Barcelona. Gregor Dimitrov in action later this morning. Denis Shapovalov also in action later this morning. Diego Schwartzman against Yannick Sinner. British #1 tennis player Cameron Norrie will be in action later this morning. Stefanos Tsitsipas also will be in action. Daniel Evans will be in action later today. Okay, moving away from that quickly, let's talk about stories emanating from the Nigerian scene. Let's confirm to you that the NFF have released a statement, with the series of information in it after an executive meeting held in Abuja on Monday. And one of the info released from that communique says that the Super Falcons, they will camp in Australia ahead of the FIFA World Cup later this year. The Falcons, of course, 9-time African champions, are looking to surpass the 1999 record for the Super Falcons of getting into the quarterfinals. And they look like they may be, in good spirit to do that after wins in their last 3 games, in friendly games, I'm sure. Australia will be the camp base for the Super Falcons ahead of the FIFA Women's World Cup before the move to, the host nations. And of course, also from that communique, we've got it that the NFF has decided not to beg players to represent Nigeria anymore. Rising from the outcome of the Nigerian Football Federation executive meeting held on Monday, the board has resolved that it will no longer tolerate any form of indiscipline from any player wearing the national jersey or beg any player to play for the national team. Of course, this is following the poor run of forms both by the Super Eagles and the Under-23 team. The Under-23 team, of course, for the second consecutive time have failed to qualify for the Olympics. And of course, the Super Eagles of Nigeria beaten by the Wild Dogs of Guinea-Bissau by 1-0 in Abuja. And that, of course, saw Nigeria sink in the rankings from 35th to 40th. Okay, let's go on our Facebook fan page and let's take some comments quickly this morning. Remember, we are live on Facebook and the question is simple. What's next for Chelsea? And who do you think is now the favorite? We basically know the 4 teams that will be in the semi-finals. Although anything can happen in football. Who do you think is the favorite to win the Champions League this season? Can Manchester City make a play for the Champions League title this season? Murphy Omolade, okay, thank you so very much. Abu Kasimo says, I see no reason why Chelsea sacked Thomas Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel is better than Graham Potter. Graham Potter is better than Frank Lampard. So it feels like one wrong decision after the other. Thank you so much, Abu Kasimo. And he also says, I tip Manchester City to win the Champions League this season. Really? Really, do you know that Manchester City are actually on course for a treble? I'm talking about a real treble, the kind of treble that Manchester United won in 1999 and are still the only English team to do so, winning the English Premier League, the English FA Cup, and the UEFA Champions League. Right now, they are in the semi-finals of the Champions League and on form. They are the best team in the Champions League semi-final right now. They're also in the semi-finals of the FA Cup and practically the best team in the FA Cup right now. With Manchester United and all their injuries, you cannot really count on them to defeat Manchester City in the final. And of course, in the Premier League, the recent slips of Arsenal have just handed the title credentials, or should I say the title favourite, to Manchester City. So really, can Manchester City get a treble this season? Let me know what you think. Okay, Dada Ashiru Bariki says, good morning. I tip Real Madrid to win the Champions League back-to-back. Chelsea problem is beyond human to repair. Okay, the club is a mess at the moment. Well, the club, it's looking like the list of candidates to take over Chelsea next season has been pruned down to 2. It's looking like it's now either or. It's either Julian Nagelsmann or it's looking like it could be Luis Enrique. I'm not sure that Mauricio Pochettino is still in active running for the job. Okay, Chopper Rebello says, I tip Manchester City to go all the way, so they give Arsenal the breathing space in the Premier League. Okay, well, if they are distracted, maybe they can pardon one. And maybe that one will be the Premier League. As an Arsenal fan, I think I understand. Great man King, I think Manchester City will win the Champions League this season. And Imafo J. Peter says, good morning, okay, thank you so much. Okay, now let's take a break on the show to join the BBC for the BBC Premier League update. When we come back from this break, Sports Band continues this morning.
BBC Premier League update from the home of Premier League football.
Hello, I'm Andy Barwell at the BBC Sports Centre. Disappointment for Chelsea, who have been knocked out of the UEFA Champions League. Under interim boss Frank Lampard, Chelsea were beaten 2-0 on the night, 4-0 overall by the Spanish giants Real Madrid. The BBC's senior football reporter Ian Dennis was at Stamford Bridge.
Well, Chelsea, I thought, showed spirit, but they lacked a cutting edge. It's a recurring problem, and after a little bit of promise, their Champions League dreams petered out. Had Kante not squandered an early opportunity, or Cucurella capitalised on a chance before half-time, before Courtois got a good block in, then it could have been different, but it's the same old story. They failed to score now in 15 of their last 25 matches. Rodrigo, who struck a post in the first half, scored the first after 58 minutes. He walked in a second, 10 minutes from time, and Real Madrid deservedly through. And Chelsea now face their first season in 7 years without European football, and many questions to be asked about their direction, and also when will they next rub shoulders with Europe's elite.
On Wednesday, Manchester City take a 3-0 lead into their Champions League quarter-final second leg match away to Bayern Munich. City boss Pep Guardiola seems pretty relaxed about the game and the fact that they're also in contention for the Premier League and the FA Cup. He feels that they're now better prepared to handle the pressure.
We have been 6-7 years on top of all the competitions, and still we are there. So in this stage, in this week, we play in 3 different competitions. I will dictate if we survive longer or we'll be out. So tomorrow and the Saturday FA Cup to reach final or not, and against Arsenal, if we win, we are still alive. If we lose, we'll be almost done. So, yeah, but it's nice to be in that position.
And for more football news on the BBC, you can go to bbc.com/football.
BBC Premier League update from the home of Premier League football.
Okay, welcome back from that break. And of course, this is still Sports Bank this beautiful Wednesday morning, the midweek edition. Okay, quickly, let's talk about the Champions League this morning. It was not just Chelsea versus Real Madrid that happened yesterday. I'm sure you already know that. Napoli yesterday at the Diego Armando Maradona Stadium, unfortunately crashed out of the Champions League too. After playing out a 1-1 draw against AC Milan. It was a very peculiar game, a very nervy game, a game where 2 penalties were missed. Olivier Giroud had the chance to put AC Milan ahead early in the game after, Rafael Leao was adjudged to have been fouled in the 18-yard box. That was in the 22nd minute. Unfortunately, Olivier Giroud missed the penalty. Alex Meret did very well to save that penalty. Afterwards, Napoli had to make 2 forced substitutions due to injuries. And then eventually Rafael Leao created once again for Olivier Giroud. This time he could not miss because all he had to do was tap into empty net. And then at that point, AC Milan had 2 goals advantage. In the 82nd minute, just 8 minutes before the end of regular time, well, it was adjudged that Fikayo Tomori had handled the ball in the 18-yard box and a penalty to Napoli was given. Unfortunately, Kivica Varashkela actually stepped up to take the penalty and missed. And I still say that why is Osimhen not the penalty taker for Napoli? Honestly, it looks like Osimhen is the one shying away from taking penalties at Napoli. Varashkela have now missed 3 penalties in the Champions League this season. Should he still be the penalty taker for Napoli? But of course, Osimhen eventually got a goal just 1 minute before the end of added time. 4 minutes were added. Osimhen equalized in the 93rd minute. And that goal, well, it may not have meant anything to Napoli because they still crashed out eventually. But to Nigerians, it means that Osimhen joins the league of very special people. Players who have scored 5 Champions League goals or 5 European tournament goals. For Nigerian players who have scored as much as that. Obafemi Martins, of course, has that record, 5 European goals, European tournament goals. Also, Yakubu Ayekbeni also has scored 5. And yesterday, Osimhen scored his 5th Champions League goal. I'm talking about in a single season, pardon me. I'm not talking about overall. I'm talking about players who have scored 5 European goals in a single season. Osimhen actually joined that particular exclusive, club. And of course, the one that I like to talk about, especially as I'm Nigerian, is Odiane Gallo dominating in the Saudi Arabian League yesterday. As Igalo's Al Hilal took on Cristiano Ronaldo's Al Nassr. Yesterday, Igalo scored 2 goals, although from the penalty spot, as Al Hilal defeated Ronaldo's Al Nassr by 2-0. Ronaldo thought he had found the net, but then it was ruled out as offside. The defeat means that Al Nassr could fall 6 points behind the league leaders Al Ittihad, who have got a game in hand. Well, Igalo took his tally in the Saudi Arabian League this season to 18 goals from 22 games and is now topping the goal scorers chart in the Saudi Arabian League. Talking about, a demi-king of Saudi Arabia. Okay, quickly, this morning before I go, let's tell you that, concerning the Champions League, there are still more games to be played tonight. Although for me, they seem like dead rubber games. But still, there are games to be played. On Facebook, Great Man King says Chelsea just needs overhauling. What would you overhaul? They've already spent about £600 million in the last one season in 2 transfer windows. Are you saying they should go ahead and overhaul and spend another 300 to 400 million, making £1 billion in 2 years? Okay, later tonight there will be 2 games. Bayern Munich at the Allianz Arena against Manchester City, and of course Inter Milan at the Giuseppe Meazza against Benfica. Some of the people would think these games are dead rubber. I think these games are dead rubber games. I think these 2 games are done and dusted. I think Manchester City are already in the semi-finals realistically, and I think Inter Milan would not lose by 3 goals tonight. So I think they'll be fine. Okay, this is the point where I've got to say my BYEs on the show this morning. Very many thanks to you for joining me on this morning's edition of Sports Bank. It's been an absolute pleasure. Don't forget to be back. Blessing and I and the guys will be back this afternoon by 3 p.m. For Just Football. And this time it will be all about football. Of course, the Chelsea's topic would actually come up again. What's next for Chelsea? And also the Manchester City topic would also come up again. Can Manchester City win the treble this season? Join us by 3 p.m. for Just Football. Until then, enjoy the rest of your morning. And bye for now.
Splash FM 105.5.
Dear listeners, it's another episode of the Smart Living Radio Show powered by Peak 456 Growing Up Milk with DHA to support brain development. Here, nutrition nuggets are shared with an emphasis on age-appropriate nutrition for our 4 to 6 year olds. On the show today, we will be discussing eating right on a budget without compromising your child's nutrition. To have this discussed with me is Dr. Othniel Gyang. Dr. Gyang is a pediatric consultant with 30 years of experience.
When I wake up in the morning, I need something to help me start my day. Pick 456 has DHA. It helps my brain to grow. It helps me to be smart. Oh, my own milk, oh, Pick 456, yeah. My own milk, oh, Pick 456, yeah. My own milk, oh, Pick 456, yeah. My own milk, oh, Pick 456, yeah.
Hi, Doctor. You're very welcome to the show today.
Sophie, I'm glad to be here. Anyways, I have listened to the past episodes and I must say kudos to you for an educative and informative show. We cannot overemphasize the